Interesting. Most of the world begins saying Tachnun tomorrow already. Because Yom Tov you don't say. Isru Chag, the day after Yom Tov, is still bound to the Yom Tov. In fact, the Gemara says that whoever eats more on Isru Chag and celebrates it is like they brought sacrifices on an altar. So Isru Chag is the day nobody says Tachnun. Then afterwards, they start saying Tachnun. The Alter Rebbe holds that we don't say Tachnun until the end of Tishrei. From Erev Yom Kippur until the end of Tishrei, we don't say Tachnun. The Alter Rebbe says the reason for that is because most of this month is no Tachnun, so we continue the rest of the month without Tachnun, just like we do that by Nisan. So the Perel Chabad doesn't say Tachnun until after the Chodesh Cheshvan. Then we begin, on Beis Cheshvan, we begin saying Tachnun again. But most people begin saying Tachnun already tomorrow. In davening Shachris, they already say Tachnun. That's issue number one. Issue number two is we began saying Mashev Haruach Mered Ageshem. Now, Nusach Ashkenaz doesn't say Morid Hatol during the summer. They just leave it out, which is, in a practical halacha, it can come out in interesting differences in halacha. Number one, if you, let's say you didn't say Mashev Haruach Mered Ageshem by mistake, but you said Morid Hatol, you do not repeat. You don't have to go back. It was good. Why? Because you still praise God that He gives dew. Morid Hatol means He gives out dew. It's not the same praise as rain. Rain is more than dew. But nevertheless, it's enough of a praise that you don't have to repeat the Shmoneh Esrei. But what happens if somebody doesn't say Morid Hatol during the summer? Okay, they just leave it out. So now if they don't say Mashev Haruach Mered Ageshem, they have to repeat the Amidah. But if you reminded yourself when you're still in the bracha, you're supposed to say Mashev Haruach Mered Ageshem Mechal Kachayim B'Chesed Mechayim Meis Mechayim Rabim. What happened if you remembered Berachim Rabim? You didn't say it, so you say them Mashev Haruach Mered Ageshem. If you finished V'nem and Ato Lahachis Meisim, you say Mashev Haruach Mered Ageshem. What happened? You say Baruch Atah Hashem Mechaya HaMeisim. You can still say Mashev Haruach Mered Ageshem. Anywhere in that bracha, you can say Mashev Haruach Mered Ageshem. What happens if you said the word Atah, of Atah Kodesh? Then you have to go back to the beginning of the Amidah, and you have to say, repeat it and say Mashev Haruach Mered Ageshem. According to that nusach, what happens? You don't remember if you said Mashev Haruach Mered Ageshem. We assume that you didn't, and then therefore you have to go back to the beginning. But we say, and Sfardim also say Morid Hatol. So therefore, even if you leave out by mistake, you made a mistake, you didn't say Mashev Haruach Mered Ageshem, and you said Morid Hatol, you don't have to repeat the Shmoneh Esrei. What?
When you said the bracha of Chaya Mesim, you just say Mashev Haruach Mered Ageshem.
Atah Kodesh. Yeah. You have to mention Mashev Haruach Mered Ageshem anywhere in that bracha, or until you begin the next bracha, it's still part of that bracha.
Even if you said the bracha.
Even if the Baruch Atah Hashem Mechaya Meisim, the Alter Rebbe says you say Mashev Haruach Mered Ageshem, and then you go Atah Kodesh. Once you said the word Atah, then it's too late.
So, like for example, like Yalav Yava wants to say the bracha right after it. You don't say.
No, because Yalav Yava has a place before it say.
Right.
I mean, sorry, after it say.
Yeah, so I'm saying.
So therefore you have to go back to it say.
Right, so you would go back there. So why not over here? You would also. Why wouldn't you have to
Because in Mashev Haruach has no unique place in that bracha, anywhere in the bracha. Anywhere, that's what I'm saying. The Chacham Institute, in that bracha, you have to say Mashev Haruach Mered Ageshem. There's no set exact place. That's that thing. But to come to talk about, this is not working, by the way. There's a count or something there. As far as saying Talumotul Levracha, so we mentioned briefly on Yom Tiv, in Eretz Yisrael, they begin asking the same Talumotul on the 7th of Tishrei. I mean, 7th of Cheshvan. That's it. 7th of Cheshvan. And we learned why, because the people traveled to the Beis Hamikdash. It took 2 weeks for the most distant Jew to get home. The distance from Yerushalayim. So that Jew took 2 weeks until they get home. So we don't want to ask for rain while people have to travel, because it's not a good time to travel in the rain. So therefore, when they begin not praising Hashem for rain, we do on Shemini Atzeres. We don't ask for rain, but saying Talum Otam means we're asking Hashem give rain. That we don't ask in Eretz Yisrael until the 7th of Cheshvan, because then all the Jews basically got back to where they came from. In our outside of Eretz Yisrael, and this is the interesting part, we do like the people from Bavel. Bavel didn't need rain like Eretz Yisrael did. Eretz Yisrael needed rain earlier. Bavel didn't need rain until 60 days after the Tkufa, the season of Tishrei. So that is basically a solar count. So therefore, today we ask it like on December 5th or 6th, is going to change, and who knows how many years are going to change. But depending if the next year's a leap year or not, bottom line is we don't begin saying until December 5th or 6th. Why do we do like Bavel and not like Eretz Yisrael? It's an interesting discussion in Halacha. Some poskim, like the Rosh, that brings down, the Rosh says, Rabbeinu Asher says, there's no reason why we should not do what Israel does. In other words, like this. There's Talmud Yerushalmi, the Jerusalem Talmud, which was composed by Rabbi Yochanan 100 years before the Babylonian Talmud, which we have Gemara, Talmud Bavli. Talmud, the Rambam writes, the Talmud Yerushalmi was composed by Rabbi Yochanan 100 years before Ravina and Ravashi compiled Talmud Bavli. Normally, when there's an argument between Talmud Bavli and Talmud Yerushalmi, the law follows Bavli. Even though the Gemara says, "Ein Torah k'Torahs Eretz Yisrael," there's nothing as good as Eretz Yisrael. Ki mitzian teitzei Torah, Torah comes out of Zion, out of Yerushalayim. Nevertheless, when it comes halacha, the halacha is like Talmud Bavli and not like Talmud Yerushalmi. It's based on the pasuk in Eicha, "B'machshakim hashivani," you established me in darkness, and the Gemara says, what does that refer to? Talmud Bavli. Why is the halacha like Bavli, not like Yerushalmi? The Yerushalmi, it should be the source of Torah. Torah was much greater in Yerushalayim than it was in Bavel. So it explained an interesting thing. If you ever look at Talmud Yerushalmi, the whole Talmud Yerushalmi is this thing, 6 volumes. I'm not saying how many tractates, but 6 volumes. It's like this size. Talmud Bavli, I'm not talking about the English. Even a big Bavli Shas is 20 volumes. It's massive. It's much bigger. The Gemara is much bigger in Bavli than it is in Yerushalmi. What was the difference in the style of learning between Yerushalmi and Bavli? So if you look in Yerushalmi, there's very few questions and answers. It's basically statements. Statements, statements, statements. In Bavli, the uniqueness of Talmud Bavli was there were questions and answers and argument and disputes and debates. So the poskim write that when you have a Gemara that has debates and discussions and questions and answers, you come much deeper into the understanding of the halacha than if you just have plain statements. Right? So therefore the halacha is like Talmud Bavli instead of Yerushalmi, because Bavli, they really went into depth of questions and answers and contradictions and discussions and all that Yerushalmi doesn't have. So there are poskim that say, like we said, so if you're talking about halacha, Talmud Bavli and Talmud Yerushalmi, okay, I understand why the law is like Talmud Bavli. But as far as asking for rain, why don't we daven like Eretz Yisrael? We also always daven for Eretz Yisrael. So why are we davening like Bavel? There's not a halacha issue. This is Eretz Yisrael versus Bavel. So we should daven in Eretz Yisrael, which is, by the way, another interesting thing. We have winter and summer. Winter we say Mashev Geshem, and summer we say Merid. Yeah, there's something called the Southern Hemisphere. Brazil, Argentina, South Africa, Australia, all those places. Yeah, they're a little bit mixed up. So their winter is when our summer is, and our summer is when the winter is. Yeah. So how do they daven?
They flip it.
Huh?
They must flip the same. Or they do the same.
They daven like we daven. Why? Why? L'chayra, their winter is not our winter. Our winter, so during the winter we ask for rain, but by them it's summer. Why are they asking for rain? So the answer is, by the way, because they daven like Eretz Yisrael. But it's a very interesting tshuva in Beis Yosef. There's a famous tshuva in Beis Yosef that's brought down that if somebody in the southern hemisphere though made a mistake and asked for rain when for them rain is no good, whatever, they made a mistake, they might not necessarily have to repeat the Shemoneh Esrei. But people daven for the welfare of Eretz Yisrael. So therefore, this opinion says, if we're davening for rain, it's not a question, halacha, is halacha like Bavli or halacha like Yerushalmi. We're talking the country Bavel versus the country of Eretz Yisrael. So they say, why don't we daven like Eretz Yisrael? And we should start asking for rain, Zayin Cheshvan.
A farmer in Australia can't pray for rain for himself?
He could. In fact, they could. But officially, what's the nusach of davening? They daven like Eretz Yisrael.
What will be the final din?
Huh?
What will be the final din?
No, about what?
They said the wrong thing in Australia.
I don't know how they actually passed in there. I think they passed like that. I don't know. But the bottom line is, so the Rosh says, but we should daven like Eretz Yisrael. But the halacha is this accepted wasn't accepted. Universally, the custom was outside of Eretz Yisrael, they daven like Bavel, and therefore they don't ask for rain on the 7th of Cheshvan. They don't ask for rain until December 5th or 6th or whatever it is. Like people from Bavel, that's when they actually started davening for rain. And this opinion of accepting it like Eretz Yisrael, we don't accept. So therefore, the bottom line is we don't say Vseintial until December 5th or 6th. And Mashev we say, and Eretz Yisrael, they say it on the 7th of Cheshvan. Now, there's another interesting thing. What happens if an American is in Eretz Yisrael on the 7th of Cheshvan? So then he starts saying like Eretz Yisrael. And when he comes back, he still says like Eretz Yisrael. If he's there, Zayin Cheshvan, and Zayin Cheshvan, if he's there, then he starts saying like Eretz Yisrael, and he doesn't change. Now, you have another scenario. Let's say a guy from Eretz Yisrael is in America. This happens a lot, because a lot of the shluchim come from Eretz Yisrael to the Kinnis on Rosh Chodesh Kislev, and they already started 7th of Cheshvan, 3 weeks earlier. They already started saying Vseintial, and then they come to America. So they daven in the quiet Shemoneh Esrei, like they daven. What happens if a guy's a chazan? He has yortzeit, he's in Oval, and he's davening for the Amid. So the question is, he's davening for the Amid in California or New York, right? We're still saying the same bracha. He began saying already Vseintial bracha. So what does he do? So the halacha is very simple. In the quiet Shemoneh Esrei, he says V'sein talu matal levracha. What he says, when he repeats the Shemoneh Esrei, he says the same bracha like everybody else because he's the chazan of the community. The community didn't ask a rain yet, so he says V'sein bracha by the repetition. By the quiet Shemoneh Esrei, he's davening for himself, so he says V'sein talu matal levracha. That's the halacha. It's very practical halacha, by the way. But if a guy is in Eretz Yisrael, when they start asking for rain, then he keeps going. That's basically what these did. Okay. Machashin so my email khumay ba my kim shbla gal tedo. Wir können mit Akasha mit das Gebor, sagst so wie wir haben Mishna Marina Khafiz man sit ka yagdo tedo wie yadi.